my agent sent me over this kind of PDF, and it was the presentation of this Sampaguita project that Nike had made. I was like 2 nights before. The message behind it was great. I felt that it fit me so much.
The crowd didn't just cheer, they screamed. Something has been quietly building in the background of women's tennis, and most fans haven't connected the dots yet. March 2026, Eala hits world number 29, the highest in Filipino tennis history.
19-year-old lefty Alex Eala from the Philippines could be the next big thing in pro tennis.
February 2026, Milo signs her. January 2026, she plays the first ever WTA tournament on Philippine soil in front of a crowd that treated her like a returning queen. Before that, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Auckland, everywhere she stepped, the atmosphere shifted. Sponsors notice atmosphere shifts. That's just how this business works. But 300+ brand offers? That specific number is what broke through even the most seasoned tennis marketing circles. Because the WTA has seen popularity surges before, Raducanu after her 2021 US Open, Osaka at her peak, but not quite like this. Not with this geographic spread, this demographic pull, this cultural weight behind a single player at only 20 years old.
Of course, we have to mention Alex Eala, the incredible fandom coming, across the globe, especially from the Filipino community.
Mats Wilander said it publicly, Eala does to tennis what John McEnroe once did. The tennis world paused. Even McEnroe's circle went quiet. Shocked by something this unexpected, nobody had a playbook for this moment. Haven't subscribed yet? Do it before the next chapter drops. Trust me, you'll want to be here. So where exactly did 300+ brands come from, and what does it mean for women's tennis going forward? To answer that, you have to go back to a single tournament, a single week, a single wildcard entry that nobody outside the Philippines took seriously. Miami, March 2025. Alex Eala walked into the WTA 1000 draw as a wild card. No seeding, no expectations, just a 19-year-old from Quezon City with a Babolat Pure Aero racket and something that veteran tennis watchers struggle to put into words even today. She took down Madison Keys in a statement win. Then she did something that made the entire tennis world stop scrolling. She beat Iga Swiatek, the world number 2, a 5-time Grand Slam champion, on a hard court, without flinching. The Philippines didn't sleep that night, neither did the marketing departments of several Fortune 500 companies. That's the moment the commercial avalanche began. Not gradually, not politely. It started with a flood of emails, calls, and agency inquiries directed at Eala's management. Brands that had never considered women's tennis as a primary vehicle suddenly recalculating their entire ambassador strategy around one name. But here's what made it different from every other breakthrough story the WTA has seen before. When Emma Raducanu won the 2021 US Open as a qualifier, the commercial explosion that followed was enormous but relatively contained. British market, Japanese market through her heritage, global tennis casual fans, that was the ceiling. When Naomi Osaka peaked, her commercial appeal was anchored in Japan, the United States, and the broader Asian diaspora. Powerful, lucrative, but geographically predictable once you mapped it out. Eala's situation operates on an entirely different axis. The Philippines has a population of over 115 million people. It has one of the youngest demographic profiles in Southeast Asia. It has a deeply embedded culture of following individual athletes, not teams, not franchises, but specific human beings, with an intensity that borders on devotion.
I've only dreamed of making tennis grow in the Philippines, and now I'm bringing a whole new audience to tennis all around the world.
Manny Pacquiao built a global commercial empire on the back of that cultural loyalty. The brands that flooded Eala's inbox after Miami understood they were potentially accessing the same pipeline. But it went further than just the Philippines. The Filipino diaspora spans the United States, the Middle East, Europe, and Asia in numbers that make it one of the most commercially significant migrant communities on Earth. Wherever Eala plays, Filipino fans travel. They fill sections, they bring flags, they create content, they trend on social media in markets that brands pay millions to penetrate organically. Sky Sports presenter Gigi Salmon witnessed it firsthand at Dubai in early 2026. Her description wasn't tennis language, it was concert language. Taylor Swift Stadium energy. Her words, not a publicist's press release. That's the kind of organic atmosphere that no advertising budget can manufacture. Brands know this, and 300 plus of them apparently decided within the same 12-month window that Eala represented something they couldn't afford to ignore any longer. Most people heard Mats Wilander's quote and processed it as a compliment, a generous comparison from a former world number one to a rising star. Nice words, good soundbite. What actually happened in the commercial world was more significant than that. Wilander told TNT Sports that Eala has hands given by God, that she understands the game as well as anyone on tour, that feel, her shot selection, her instinctive reading of a point. It's basically what John McEnroe did to the tennis world in the 1980s, a player whose tennis feels mystical to everyone watching. That specific framing, mystical, carries enormous weight in brand strategy circles. Mystical athletes don't just win. They make people feel something while watching. They create moments that get replayed, screenshotted, discussed at dinner tables. They generate what marketers call earned media, coverage and conversation that money cannot directly buy. McEnroe generated it for a decade. Federer generated it for 2. Eala, according to one of the sport's greatest ever champions, carries that same quality in her hands. When Wilander's quote circulated, it didn't just reach tennis fans, it reached brand strategists, agency heads, and commercial directors who track exactly this kind of third-party validation from credible sources. A former world number one and Grand Slam champion using the word mystical to describe a 20-year-old's tennis intelligence, that's not a quote you ignore if you're building an ambassador portfolio for the next 5 years. The McEnroe comparison effectively gave Eala a ceiling that most players her age simply don't have on paper. It told the commercial world she wasn't just a trending moment. She was potentially a generational talent with a decade of relevance ahead. Commercial decisions at the level we're discussing don't happen on sentiment alone. Numbers matter, trajectory matters even more. Consider what Eala's ranking curve actually looked like over a 24-month window. She ended 2024 ranked number 143 in the world. By July 2024, that was already a career high. Then Miami 2025 happened and she vaulted into the top 100 for the first time, the first Filipino player in WTA history to achieve that. She finished 2025 at number 50. By February 2026, she was at number 40 following the Abu Dhabi Open, then number 31 after Dubai, then number 29 after Indian Wells. A new career high and still the highest any Filipino has ever been ranked in WTA history. That's not a spike. That's a sustained, accelerating climb with no signs of plateauing. Brands making 5-year ambassador decisions look at exactly this kind of trajectory. A player who jumps from 143 to 29 in under 2 years, while simultaneously generating Taylor Swift crowd comparisons and Wilander-level praise, represents a commercial opportunity with a very specific characteristic.
We're not concerned about anyone else right now. It's Alex Eala time. This is Alex Eala's moment. Our days, our dinners, our evenings are fixated on when she's playing. That's real tennis fandom right there. Love it.
This is so great for tennis in general.
Yeah.
I think having players like Alex out there, and she's so gracious to all her fans. She spends time with her fans, signs the autographs, takes the photos, and really just shows the Filipino community that it is all about the Philippines. And I still carry that flag with me no matter where I go across the world.
She's still underpriced relative to where she's heading. Signing Eala in early 2026 is the equivalent of buying real estate in a neighborhood just before the infrastructure arrives. The brands that moved on her now are locking in rates that will look extraordinarily shrewd if she reaches the top 10, wins a Grand Slam, or both. Miami 2025 started the conversation, but it was the consistency afterward that sealed it. Later in 2025, Eala reached her maiden WTA Tour final at Eastbourne. Then she won her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara, becoming the first Filipina to win a WTA Challenger level event.
Of course I have, because like I said, I've been coming here for 20 years, and at the beginning, of the tournament. I think they had to get people in here to watch.
At the 2025 U.S. Open, she recorded her first Grand Slam main draw victory as a Filipino player. Every milestone came with another wave of media coverage, another spike in social media following, and another round of brand interest. Then 2026 arrived, and the momentum didn't slow. January brought the first ever WTA tournament held on Philippine soil, the Philippine Women's Open at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center. Eala entered as the second seed. The atmosphere was unlike anything the WTA had staged in Southeast Asia before. Even her quarterfinal loss to Camila Osorio couldn't dampen what the week represented. A full-circle moment for a player who grew up watching tennis on those same courts. February took her to Abu Dhabi, where she reached the quarterfinals, fell to Ekaterina Alexandrova, and peaked at a live ranking of number 38 during the tournament. Then Dubai, where Coco Gauff ended her run in the quarterfinals 6-0, 6-2. A heavy scoreline, but the crowd's reaction to Eala throughout the week told a story that the scoreboard didn't. Indian Wells followed. Fourth round, a loss to Linda Noskova, then Miami again, the venue where everything started, where she reached the round of 16 before falling to Karolina Muchova. Each tournament, each result, each crowd reaction, all of it feeds the commercial case being built in boardrooms that have nothing to do with tennis rackets or ranking points. Before the speculation about 300-plus brand approaches swamps the reality, it's worth being precise about where Eala's verified commercial relationships actually stand today. Globe Telecom has been with her since she was 8 years old. That's not a sponsorship, that's a foundation. They identified her potential before almost anyone else and have grown alongside her, rise in a way that will make their long-term ROI on that relationship almost impossible to calculate.
Eala, the phenomenon. We didn't know largely the tennis community a year ago before her run in Miami, and now it's must-see TV and drawing maybe the biggest crowds anyone outside of Alcaraz Center in the league.
Nike outfits her on court. Babolat supplies her Pure Aero racket, the same frame she used to beat Swiatek. Bank of the Philippine Islands positions her around financial discipline and literacy, which speaks to the aspirational demographic she represents for a younger Filipino audience. Locally, Juice came on board in July 2025. Milo added her as an ambassador in February 2026. That's a portfolio of 6 verified partners across telecoms, sportswear, equipment, banking, beverages, and nutrition. For a 20-year-old ranked number 29 in the world, that's already a commercially mature profile. But the 300-plus figure, the number that broke through marketing circles, refers to approaches, inquiries, and formal expressions of interest that have been directed at her representation, not signed deals. The distinction matters. What it tells you is the scale of appetite from the brand world relative to what has actually been converted so far. The gap between 300-plus interested parties and 6 confirmed partners represents a commercial pipeline that her management is presumably working through very carefully. The brands that get through that filter over the next 12 to 24 months will likely be announced with the kind of fanfare that generates its own news cycle, and each announcement will trigger another wave of approaches from brands that missed the first window. There's a version of this story that's purely about one extraordinary young athlete from Quezon City and her remarkable rise through the WTA rankings. That version is genuinely compelling on its own, but the larger story, the one that makes the 300-plus figure genuinely historic rather than just impressive, is about what Eala represents for the commercial architecture of women's tennis itself. The WTA has spent years trying to expand its footprint in Asia. Events in China, tournaments in the Middle East, exhibition matches across Southeast Asia. The infrastructure has been built, the broadcast deals have been signed. What was always missing was a player from the region itself who could activate local audiences at the level that Serena Williams activated American audiences or Li Na activated Chinese audiences. Eala is that player for the Philippines, and given the reach of the Filipino diaspora, she may be that player for significantly more than just the Philippines. John Castillejo, a Filipino sports journalist and former tennis player, captured it precisely when she noted that Eala is already being treated like a multiple Grand Slam winner in her home country, despite not yet having won one. That gap between achievement and perception isn't a delusion, it's anticipation. Filipino fans are not celebrating what she has done, they're celebrating what they believe she is going to do. Brands understand anticipation, they invest in it, they price it, and right now, 300 plus of them have apparently decided that Alexandra Eala's future is worth getting in front of. The 2026 season is far from over. Wimbledon, Eala's self-described favorite Grand Slam, the tournament she calls home to the most beautiful venue in tennis, is approaching. A deep run there on the grass courts she genuinely favors, in front of a global audience that the All England club commands, would accelerate everything discussed in this script by a factor that's genuinely difficult to model in advance. A first Grand Slam quarterfinal, a first Grand Slam semifinal, a first Grand Slam final. Any one of those outcomes would trigger commercial conversations at a scale that would make 300 plus look like the opening chapter of a much longer story. The wild card from Miami 2025 is no longer a wild card in any sense of the word. She is a seeded, ranked, commercially sought-after, historically significant force in women's tennis. At 20 years old, with Rafael Nadal's academy still shaping her game and Joan Bosch guiding her tactics. Mats Weilander's McEnroe comparison wasn't nostalgia, it was a forecast. And the brands that moved first, all 300 plus of them reaching toward one player in one unprecedented commercial moment that genuinely broke the WTA's historical benchmarks, may one day look back on this window as the moment they either got in early or wish they had. If you made it this far, you already know this channel covers tennis differently from everyone else. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay close, because Eala's story is moving faster than any weekly upload schedule can comfortably keep up with. The next chapter is already being written,